Good morning. This is Miss Ellie White, and I would like to break out the elephant in the room and acknowledge that many of you have discussed with me the fact that there are serious wolves in our presence as we speak. And we all know the lies and generalities which they use to try to defame and bring down individuals which they feel are threatening to them. Now, the reasons for the threats are if you're someone who's honest, upright, true, living a life of God, and are telling people, please don't sin, the people that are sinning get really upset. And the individuals which came to me was a group of pastors, which were talking about the pastors of a different region who are known to be doing very, very vile, evil, and corrupt things, and trying to push their agenda or tempt the few remaining innocents to follow their same course. Now, first we'll get into a couple of examples of this, and then tell you how you can spot these wolves and steer clear of them. Okay? One such example is a alone widower and single mother approached her church that she'd been going to since she was 9 years old and said, gee, I have a plumbing problem. Can you please recommend to somebody that would be honest and not cheat me? I don't have funds available. And everyone knows, as soon as you walk into an automotive shop and say, hi, I'm a single woman, can you help me fix my car? All of a sudden the spare tire turns into, you need a new engine, So we've all seen examples of taking advantage of those who are innocent or young or unknowledgeable in certain areas or don't have funds or whatever it is. If there's not a male in the background to pound them for being, heinous in their activities, they'll get away with as much as they think they can. So, the church says, oh, your new Sunday school teacher is a plumber. We'll send him over and he will fix it for you, gratis, free, don't worry about it. You've been a loyal and participating member since you were a young child, and we'll handle this, we'll take care of this. So, the man comes over and walks through the entire property, the house, the in, the out, everything. And then says, well, we as a church, and here's where the evil comes in, we as a church have decided that if you commit adultery with another couple in the church, i.e. wife swapping, then it's not a sin because it's consensual. So, my wife and I have decided that we want to have sex with you. And it's okay that you don't have a husband to swap with because my wife likes you, so we both want you, so you count as a couple. I mean, where does this bizarre reasoning come from? Doesn't it sound like Adam and Eve in the garden? Deception, manipulating of reasoning, anything to change it and twist it until it suits what we want. And that is illegitimate sex with a person you're not too married to when your wife is standing right by you. Oh yes, he did come back to that individual's house with the wife, thinking if she says, ooh, I like you too, that the woman would become convinced that it was okay, as if it was up to the wife. What are the rules set down before us as we were created by God? Okay? And I said to the gentleman, and this was on the first visit, you can't make a sin right because someone else told you that it's okay. If you and your wife and another man and his wife swap, it's still adultery. Both of you saying it's okay doesn't make it okay. Do you know why? Because humans aren't able to understand the higher reasoning of God. God says, my ways are not your ways. They're higher than your ways. And you can't possibly understand them. Were you there when I created Orion? Were you there when I created the sweet melodies of Pleiades? Do you understand this? Do you understand that? Can you tell me how my world works? Or how I set down the foundations of the earth? No. So, it's not possible for a man, that means human, to all of you who like to be politically correct, which is another wile of the devil. It is not possible for a man to say, it's okay to do something. Because you can offend another human, but sins are things which you do which violate the laws of God. In other words, when you sin, you are committing a heinous act against God, your creator. Okay, so nothing can excuse that. So then we have another instance, and this time, again, a single mom goes into surgery a couple hours away, and the church arranged for a tall, attractive, single man contractor to pick the woman up after the surgery was completed. And their intentions of a little Christian matchmaking are admirable in some arenas, but you need to pick out more than just bodies, a Christian woman and a guy that happens to be available. Because by the time a man turns 50, 60 years old, he's got a history. And there's probably a really good reason why that man is still single. So, get back into the story. The woman calls after she's recovered at the hospital and says, the doctor's going to be here tomorrow morning and check me out. And I will be released at 2 in the afternoon. And is it still proper and kosher that you can come and pick me up and take me home from surgery? And the gentleman was like, yes, yes, yes. So the next morning, the doctor comes in. She calls the gentleman again. I'll be checked out at 2 o'clock. The man says yes. She calls again at noon and says, they just called and said, I can go at any time. As soon as you're here, they'll release me. The man says yes. At 3 o'clock, the woman calls the man and says, hello, where are you? And the man says, well, here's the thing. I want you to come back home with me and have sex with me. And we're going to have this wild, frolicking sex all night. And then I'll take you to your house in the morning, the following morning. Well, the woman says, hello, this is not what we agreed to. The pastor of our church helped to arrange this. And one, I'm not going to sin. And two, even if I loved your idea and wanted to do this, I just got out of surgery. I'm not up to that kind of activity, period. And the man says, well, you have to, or I won't come and get you. And the woman says, well, you know what? I am trying my hardest to be sinless and to raise my child in a manner that God would direct. And this is not appropriate. And the man says, well, you just don't tell your daughter that you were home last night. When I take you home the next morning, you say, ta-da, here's mom, she just got home. I said, oh, so now you want me to lie on top of adultery? Well, the man says, well, here's the thing. Here's his argument number 3. Okay, the devil gave him 3 really good arguments. So, the third and final argument is, as soon as we bring up the issue about the pastor and how this was supposed to be a kosher and nice and welcoming and take you gently home, drive slow, get you into the house safely. The man says, well, the pastor preaches that if you look on a woman and lust with her in your heart, then you have committed adultery. So, the man says, I figure that since I've already done that, you might as well go to bed with me. Because since I've already done it, because I've done it in my heart, no skin off anybody's back, that person should just go to bed with me. So the single mom, still woozy from lots of drugs and medications, before, during, and after the surgery, calls the pastor and says, I need your help. I'm absolutely delirious to get home under my own power, and this man will not take me home. So the pastor stays on the phone the whole way home, 3 hours of driving, and helps navigate, via watching on a computer, directions of where to go and what to look for, to help get the woman home under her own power. Arriving at her own home, the man shows up and starts pounding and screaming on the doors and things and saying, I just want to talk to you. And so the woman calls the pastor back and says, what do I do? You need to get this man away from here. And the pastor says, I don't know what to do. Call the cops. Well, if it's a problem within the church is directed to handle the problem. The Bible says, why are you suing your brother and sister, and then you take it before pagan officials and tell them to decide your lives for you? You know, especially if it's two people in the same church, same pastor, the whole thing is arranged by the pastor. You call the guy up on his phone and say, get the heck out of that woman's property. And shame on you, and spank your little butt for saying those 3 vile reasons why she had to commit adultery with you to get a ride home from a hospital. So we see those kind of activities. We see where a man on numerous occasions has gone to different people in my area, and he will attract or permit people to move in with him for a short-term basis if they've just gotten out of a drug, alcohol, rehab, or jail program, and they happen to be women. Okay? There's a few guys that get allowed in here and there so that cheap contractors can come by and get some under-the-table, underwage labor, also referred by the man who's conducting this program's church. And the contractors in that group go to this man's house and grab what labor they need every day. And if they get some money or don't, nobody knows for sure, because the guys get a 6-pack of beer and they're too drunk to know if they even got paid or not. So then the women go, what can I do? I can't get up on a roof. And so they go into a special bedroom, and the manager, or whatever you want to call it, of the house takes his easy chair that he slops all the way down to a laying position and sleeps in every day, and he moves it into the ladies' room. So we can all guess at why they're so grateful and wonderful, because, you know, having sex with someone when they're too wasted from doing various drugs and things to even know what they're doing is taking advantage of a child, or the equivalent of, since they are completely unaware of and incapable of making a just and right decision. And if they don't, and they piss the dude off, and they get thrown off in the cold in the middle of the night, and sometimes have a child or two in tow with them, you know darn well that they are under a severe amount of pressure to do what this individual wants. And this individual is taking all of their secret numbers to every single identifying thing that they have, whether it be an ID or a social security or, you know, gas, water, and electric accounts. And when you do that, okay, you are marrying those individuals. You don't give those secret numbers to anybody. And when one person is walking around with 100 people's all their numbers, that's just insane. You're giving him an incredible amount of power over those poor and helpless women. And when you see someone who's just wonderful and benevolent, as one very warped individual put it, when they're only always now helping women, and some of them married, and one lady, I guess, gambled away her whole $1,200 a month income that she got, didn't have the money for the rent, didn't want to tell her out of work, totally wasted high husband laying on the couch that she had already spent the money gambling, and so she went to that same individual and got her rent money and paid him thank you appropriately. And the same individual was caught breaking into a number of homes. Some places that I am directly, either by my family or myself, familiar with, in charge of, own, or whatever, and you go there and there he is. And there's the guys that he takes care of, and they're burning kitchen cabinets and other such acts, and pooping in the yard, and frying their breakfast on the sidewalk. And you go to the man's house, and laying all around the whole exterior of the house are tools and things that he has appropriated from other people because he needed to give a job to these guys. And so you are helping God by letting him steal from your house. Now, here's the big thing that will tell all of the people in the church who's the lamb and who's the wolf. When a man walks around town and gets $1,500 a day in work because he's telling people, I'm sharing and giving to people because I believe God wants me to give. Okay? So he's getting $1,500 a day in cash work, defrauding the government, not paying taxes, many criminal items on his record, most of them generic, smaller things, because the police were convinced by his benevolent speeches not to arrest him for breaking into zillions of houses, stealing dozens and dozens of automobiles, not to mention tools and, weight sets and other large items which are very difficult to accidentally put into your purse and take home with you. And the whole house and lawn, yard, front and back, garage, everything is full of these things. And he says, don't call the police because this provided a job for dozens of men for an entire year. Yeah, well, tell that to the 5 cars of mine, which got stolen by this same individual. The other thing is, in the scriptures, it says if you're doing a genuine God thing, you don't tell anyone. Do not let your right hand and your left hand know what the other one is doing. If you're doing it for God, you will go into your closet and pray in secret. You will do your good act in secret. You will not tell other people what you're doing. You will not stand on the street corner with your face all disfigured and your hair all gross and say, I am doing a fast for God. It says, wash your face, put the, little hair gels on your hair and brush it back and look clean and peppy and alive, and don't tell anyone that you're doing a fast for God or you're doing any kind of an act for God. Because if you're telling everybody around town and you're getting $1,500 in cash a day, and then you're supporting your wife, your daughter, and the girlfriend, and a few other almost homeless or seriously depraved women through years of drug and alcohol abuse, and you're convincing them that you're godly because you don't penetrate them. You just lie with them and cuddle and make it sound so cute and cozy like a little kitten or something. Okay, when you know darn well that the guy simply can't function anymore because of being an alcoholic himself. Years of alcohol will destroy your abilities, and so will stupid things like the bisphenol that's in those clear bottles of water that we've all been, manipulated into drinking as this huge and wonderful fad, which is pulled out of the ground in Central California for 6 cents a gallon, and then they sell it by the millions of bottles around the world for $6 a gallon, okay? Clean out those milk bottles, wash them out real good, boil some water or let the water run in your faucet for a couple of minutes, and then fill a bunch of those bottles and put those in your refrigerator to drink from, okay? Don't be tricked by evil money-making schemes. Remember back in the day when we said that water and air would always be free? So, back to our subject. When a man tells everybody what he's doing and getting $1,500 a day in cash, so that he can defraud the government and hide from responsibilities that he's not paying for. And he has 100 women on a piece of paper that he gives, $5 to, $50 to, 20, 40. And he just walked out with 2 or 3 jobs, paying $500 to $1,500 each that day, and gives, a 6-pack of beer or $5 to one guy. I watched $5 go to one guy the other day. There's a coffee shop to the right, and there's a store that sells beer to the left. And he handed the gentleman $5 and said, "Now go buy some coffee with this, okay?" And the man said, "Okay," took the money, and walked straight into the store and bought the beer. Okay, so is this helping people? Or is this taking advantage of their state, whether it be alcohol or drugs or a gambling addiction, and they're married and they're trying to hide the problem from their husband? And you're giving that wife money and accepting gratitude for it later? These are not acts of God. These are wolves that are within the church. You need to know a little bit about your pastor and such, okay? Because if he abandoned a woman for years, forced her into the arms of another man, was sleeping with a very depraved divorcee, and the divorcee says, "Well, I tell you what, you give your house to your ex-wife, and I will put you on the title of my house. And I will not be a church wife. I will not lead a women's Bible study. I will not participate in the things of the church. I will be busy with my job since it makes more money than yours. And you will wash the dishes every night and prepare dinner for me when I get home." And the man is leaving the church at 2 or 3 in the afternoon to go home and fix dinner and then wash the dishes for the little wifey, because she brings in more money at her job than his job. When you're in the position where you are extremely upset over thinking that it's possible that your wife might have had lunch with a gentleman in the church, go home and cry. But then you go home and you stay at home and you pray and you read and you pray and you read and you stay alone for 2 years after the divorce is final before you date another person. And if you really want to do what God tells you to, you don't marry. You stay at home and you wait until that person that sins says, "I'm sorry," and comes back. Or you can stand in front of your church and tell stories on the verge of tears about all you ever wanted was to see a woman open the door and say, "Honey, you're home." Because if you had waited for the wife to come back, if she ever left in the first place, or that wasn't an ugly rumor, to put someone into power that could control you, you need to look out for the wiles of the devil, whether you're the pastor or the person sitting in the pew. And to those group of pastors that said that all the pastors in a certain region are evil and vile and don't even preach God anymore. They preach songs out of a book instead of giving the message of Christ on Christmas. These people are wolves. These people are wolves. And I understand what the group of pastors meant when they said, "Don't leave and listen to what that pastor says. Just go there so you can meet with and fellowship with other Christians." When a church used to have 600 people and it has 2 services and there's only 12 people now attending both services. And I'm not talking about anywhere in church. I'm talking about dozens of churches that I know that this is true of. The only people left in the church are not the real Christians. They're the people who are buying the lies and are paying their way to heaven by sitting in a seat for 1 hour every week. Okay, those aren't the kind that you want to fellowship with. You need to stand up and speak the truth. You need to tell these preachers that when they say, "Gall darn it," that the G and the D stand for God and damn, and that they're swearing. There's a very special curse for people that swear, and it's written on a scroll that's 10 cubits wide and 20 cubits long that will fall upon you and your entire household. So don't do Jiminy Christmas, the J and the C standing for Jesus and Christ. Don't do any of those things. And people, when you see that happening, bingo, you know you've got a wolf in your presence. So look for people who don't tell everybody what they do. They just do it. They do it for God's glory and God's reward. Not the man standing on the street corner going, I'm fasting and my face is all disfigured. You know, you have your reward. People saw you and went, ooh, isn't he holy? And that's all the reward you're going to get. And if you take it too far and you preach a song on Christmas instead of the story of Christmas, or you're preaching NASA, really? It's really hard when people are looking around smiling and only embarrassed because the pastor is the only person that doesn't know that the photo that he has up on the wall is lauded all over the world as, the worst fraud in history. And the example of the little square around the moon, in other words, CGI. It's hard for people to take your sermon credible if you're trying to be a master at everything. And people that are doing that, instead of just opening the word and saying, this is the word, God bless the reading of the word, and you explain what's in that word after you read the actual scriptures, not some cute little, not a translation, but somebody's version that they've concocted. These things are so far off, it's not even funny. Okay? A cubit is 18 inches, not 1 inch. And God said it because it couldn't happen, to show us how ridiculous we are when we try to worry and think that by worrying we can change the world. We need to get out there and preach the word of God, and that will change the world. And I appreciate any of you that can write to me any comments at buffalostudy@yahoo.com or paypal.me/buffalostudy@yahoo.com. Please help. There's so much persecution that's going on, and we need to be able to keep these kind of messages coming forward. And share with me your thoughts or things that you would like to have preached on, or examples of things if you've been so kind to send to me in this regard of things that you would like to have talked about. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Again, this is Miss Ellie White. Thank you so much.